Hey there, chart friends. Lamont here from Chart Guys, checking in on the electric vehicle sector and a couple of those battery names. So, starting off as we always do with Tesla, the big dog, we are being mindful of this sideways range that we are in. Tesla loves to do this, right? It loves to just kind of stair step up. It'll rush up, get some sideways consolidation, and then if it breaks to the upside, it will look for another level to start consolidating on, right? It's just the nature of a very bullish trend, right? It kind of that's the stair step pattern, right? And you can tell it's even more bullish than most assets because of how far away it pulls from the last highs. And of course, that also has to do with how much consolidation occurs before the break. Okay, so for example, right, look at all these little rectangular or triangular consolidation structures that then break to new highs. So for example, here, you look at the highest close, and we get to rather close, right? I think it touches it perfectly. Is that to the tick? My goodness, 1 second. I need to know. I don't think so. It is 32860, and this one is 32988. So not quite there, but the point stands, right? That the prior highs will very often get tested, and then we'll see some consolidation, right? It's a very common occurrence. Okay, so we're watching for that right now. Am I saying that we're going to break to the upside? No, absolutely not. I have no idea. And you can see that we are, again, just kind of hanging out near the top of this, the channel standard deviation band. Okay. And let me turn this off. Actually, this is a little busy. All right. So, yeah, we're just hanging out here, right? And the more time that we spend up here, I think the more likely it is for us to break out of the channel. But if you zoom out, let me just zoom out real quick. If you zoom out, you'll see that we have actually kind of already broken out of this much larger channel that price was respecting. Now you have one, two, three, four hits on the bottom, and I guess only one hit up top. So we're not terribly confident. We're not terribly confident in the I'll get that later. In the resistance line being valid for this structure, I have to. I'm sorry. So we're not terribly confident in the resistance line. However, I will say that if you come all the way over here, look at how you get a really nice touch of that old channel's prior resistance now acting as support 2 times. So we've already left a large channel and are in this much more bullish trajectory. And so to leave this trajectory again would be incredibly strong. So, just a little context. And we know that the longer term time frames have yet to see any meaningful consolidation. Okay. So while this is a good look for bulls, while we are still hanging out sideways, while Tesla loves to do this thing where it goes sideways for a long time, consolidates on the daily, shakes people out like this one. This one was a brutal shakeout here, right? With this little lower low with very minimal follow through. Was it? I think it was a lower low. Let's see here. 273, and this was 273.31, right? This is a brutal fake out, a daily trend change off by a few ticks, and then it just rushes out, giving bulls, especially bulls who trade on the daily time frame, very little opportunity to get back in this trade, right? And so that's why I really don't love playing the breakouts. It would have been good here, but look, you get a nice pullback entry later. Okay, so that's pretty much the theses that I'm working with right now regarding Tesla for any kind of long-term swing plays. Okay, so that's why I'm looking at this 500 level. And this 700 level, I'm interested in it as well, but you can see there's just not as much volume as there was down here. Okay, so anyway, let's get down to the current situation. We are just watching this sideways range on the daily time frame, and you can see this pivot. The pivot for the month acted as a really nice level to play off of. It's a high probability trade whenever you can come test the pivot, particularly if it's extended. If price is extended and it comes down to test this pivot, then which by the way is just derived from the high, low, and close. All right, yeah, the high, low, and close of the previous period. So these levels, this pivot, and this R1, this S1 here, is derived from the previous month's high, low, and close. Okay, so nice daily balance follow through today. Strong day, closed near the highs at the upper end of the range, closed strong as well. And so if we zoom into the hourly, I'm sure we'll see that the hourly trend is bullish. Without extended hours on, this is really just a V-shaped bounce from the lows. I guess you can get a little higher low into higher highs here, but it's not much of a pullback. Now with extended hours on, I'm sure there are a couple. Yeah, with extended hours on, there are a few, 1, 2, 3 higher lows. But you know, if it occurs in extended hours, I just don't have as much confidence in it. But that being said, looking at this specific higher low, I would be fairly confident in it because it coincides with this regular trading hour structure here, right? You can see the volume here is high around here. So I do think that the potential to set an hourly higher low over 832 is likely. It's a lot of space. But for me, regular trading hours, this is really all I care about. And so it's going to be the same level, really, right? If we pull back down to this 842 level, I think that's a reasonable place to look for an hourly higher low. But that being said, because we were in this daily sideways range, you know, you don't really want to be initiating trades in the middle of the range. I do think that there's likely to be, like if we come waterfall down, I do think there's very likely to be at least some bounce. But because we're consolidating the sideways range, it's also very likely that we come down here and test the lows, right? That's just how consolidation works. We bounce around, test the lows, test the highs, until eventually equilibrium is I guess eliminated, right? The equilibrium is eliminated, and so we start getting some trending, right? So as long as we're in this daily range, I'm sure you've heard me say this many times before, that's all I care about. That's all I care about is this daily range, okay? Let's see. Yeah. Now that being said, I do think there's a short-term play here, all right? So if we can get 5-minute oversold into this area down here, and I'm sure it would be, well, I shouldn't say that, but it's likely to get oversold down here if we, you know, stay relatively strong, or even if we get a little bit weak into the 860s and then, you know, dump on the open. Okay, so basically, this is a 5-minute oversold bounce play and not a swing trade play. Right? If you're looking to swing or if you're looking to lower your cost basis, the safest plays are off of the range lows. Okay, so the 800 level or so. And because we're looking for a daily pivot, ideally you'll get hourly oversold conditions into this 806.48 level. Okay. So key supports, key levels going into tomorrow. Obviously, the high of today will be the key resistance 880.50. If bulls can pull back and set a higher low over 780.10 and break to higher highs over 880.50, then we'll call that an hourly trend change. Be confident that daily low is set. Although honestly, you know, pretty given the range, I'm pretty confident, obviously, that daily low has been set. Yeah, but if we're going to see like daily continuation, then the bulls need to set that hourly higher low and higher high into new highs soon after. Okay, so just watching it range bound, and if we do break out of this range, remember we are watching this channel resistance line. Okay, we're bumped up on the R1. The R1 coincides with these local highs. We have this channel. We know that this is I think on the weekly time frame as well. Yes, so we are very close to the yearly R1 as well, which, as Mod Matt would say, is the projected ceiling for the year. Doesn't mean it can't break, but it's a good place to start looking for a turnaround. Like for example, Bitcoin just did that. Bitcoin is doing that right under here. And now, of course, we're consolidating healthily on Bitcoin, so the potential of it breaking is pretty good, especially because we're just hanging out, you know, under here. But you know, they're not so different, honestly. Anyway, let's see here. No, I think that about covers it. So if the Bears can take the trend tomorrow, if the Bears are able to set well, there's no sign of that occurring yet. But if the Bears can change the hourly trend tomorrow by setting a lower high under 880.50 and then break into lower lows whenever they set that hourly higher low, then they'll change the hourly trend and have bulls scouting for a daily higher low. Anything over 780.10 will be one. Okay, so NIO, bulls continuing to play defense, and you know it's a little sus. It's a little. I find it to be a little sus. So we're getting these bear breaks with very minimal follow through, but at the same time, there's just no lift off of this level. So you know this low volume grinding on a support. Typically, when you grind a support or resistance level on low volume, it breaks eventually. That's the common school of thought, at least. So the bulls are still playing defense over this 55 level. They're trying to maintain, they're trying to keep price action above this prior consolidation structure's high. And you can see there was a lot of consolidation here. Okay, so if we were to break down back into this level, you know, the common idea, or it's a very common strategy regarding volume and market profile is that if you come back into a balance area, and this was for sure a balance area because of so much time and price action that traded within it, the lows will get not that they will get tested, they very often will get tested, okay? Because this is, you know, a bunch of people agreeing, trying to decide, okay, price should be higher, price should be lower, price should be higher, price should be lower. Finally, the people who say price should be higher have won, and now we're coming back to make sure they're correct, right? We're not quite sure they're correct yet, okay? Now, from a price action perspective, this is a decent look for bulls because you do have this price action trend change, and the bears are just not getting anything going with it, okay? But that being said, a fade is a fade. This is still a fading move, okay? And so what do I care about the most? This is not unlikely to set up, but I care about this the most. I care about this the most because this was the last little lower high, or technically it's a higher high. This is the last pivot that had bears step in any real meaningful fashion in this consolidation structure. So if we come down and break into these lows, you know, it's not like it's unlikely for everybody in here to be proven wrong right away, so to speak, right? It's more likely that we will come down here and kind of chop around, right? So there's likely to be the potential of some bounce in this zone if we can get hourly oversold. So hourly oversold down here into this $50 level, 48-ish level is the primary trade for like a swing, a few days of swing. And we will be, in the short term, we're looking for a lower high too. So if the bulls can change the hourly trend tomorrow if the bulls can change the hourly trend tomorrow by holding this low of 54.51 and breaking out higher highs over 57.54, they'll change that hourly trend and set that daily low, and then bears will be scouting a daily lower high under 64.52. Okay, so bears looking for that lower high can be trying up here, up on the R1 for the week. The hourly will get extended, and of course we know that there is this resistance level up here in the 64s. Okay. Alrighty. So workhorse. I don't think this was actually I think this was just for example or something. Okay, so oh my goodness, was that for this was looking for an hourly higher low, I guess. I suppose it was. So let's see here. Was the 5-minute oversold? When did it get oversold? So it got oversold down here. So the zone of interest, if you were making this play, it should have been moved down a little bit lower. And wow, it got really buried. And this is interesting because you get this, you have some divergence, some RSI divergence here, but you don't get it here. Oh no, you do. Yeah, nice little clue, right? When you get a bear break with without much follow through, usually the RSI improves as well, and then that sets up some bullish divergence. So this is a really good example of what I'm talking about regarding like the price action stuff, right? Like we were looking for an hourly higher low play, and as you've heard me say many times before, looking for those looking for a higher low or lower high plays in the key time frame below a consolidation structure. So on the daily time frame, where it looks like, you know, sure looks like we're entering some consolidation by going sideways. And so whenever we're in this sideways structure, it's a bit trickier to mess with. That being said, too, you know, the location for an hourly higher low here is, you know, a little, what was up here is a little aggressive just because there were 3 days of upside here. But I did anticipate that there would be at least be some bounce if we were to waterfall down there. I'm surprised by this weakness, but at the same time, not surprised because we are in this consolidation structure. Okay, so whenever we're in consolidation structure, it's just those higher low plays, just a little bit trickier. Okay, and now, that being said, it was pretty clean here. But anyway, it stands. I promise you, if you you know, it's one of those things where you identify context. Context is really important for a trade. But yeah, so I'm sure I've said that 1,000 times by now. I'm gonna bore you anymore. Okay, so we are range bound, and whenever we are range bound, what do we care most about? We care about the range. That's it. All right, so these 3 lines, I believe, are derived from the prior highs. Yes, these prior highs back here in that big old consolidation range, that's what we're looking out for. On the daily time frame, the bulls are looking for a daily high or low. Anything over 29.52 will be one, although technically the bears have yet to confirm a downtrend. So tomorrow, if the bulls are able to put together some bounce, set a lower high under 40.24, and then break to lower lows under 33.50, then they'll change that hourly trend and have bulls scouting that daily higher low somewhere down here. You know, ideally we'll get hourly oversold conditions. Let's see. It really would be right around here. Okay, so essentially it'd be a bottom fishing play, right? We want to see that hourly, this line come up at me, and it's right in the middle right now. So if we were to come down here right away, then the hourly would start becoming oversold, and it would be the first oversold after a rather large after a rather large move up. Yes, so this is what Dan calls a back burner trade, right? The last time we had an hourly oversold bounce was all the way back here at 1961. Price is currently at 34.51, so 75% gains since the last hourly oversold bounce. So the first one, I have a feeling that it'll likely be a decent bounce. So Workhorse is definitely on the table. I don't know, is trade setup yeah, it's on deck, right, for tomorrow. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just jot a note down because I do have a position and I should manage it. I'll probably look to get back to size here. I played some calls and I chopped a bunch up, but if we were to get down here, I'll probably start looking for those calls again. I'm actually really interested in the chain. I almost just pulled up the chain right now. That's it. It's addiction, I guess. Okay. Yeah, so that's really it. We're just looking for that daily higher low. Anything over this low here, 29.52 will be one. And the bulls really don't want to lose these highs, right? If we now that I see that pivot for the month is there, I might try a little bit higher, something like that maybe. Okay, so if we can waterfall down, if we can get a little bit more, if we can get extended down there, then that's what I would like to see. Okay, so again, just to summarize, I know that was a lot of information. So we're looking for the bulls to maintain price above these local highs. We are looking for a daily higher low, and we're being mindful of that hourly trend. Tomorrow, there is definitely a setup here, okay? I would not be surprised if what we end up seeing here is something similar to this, right? Look at all this consolidation. It's very likely that we'll see something like that, okay? All right, so range bound, play the range. Okay, XPEV. So we were looking for the potential of more bounce to look for that daily higher low, but obviously the daily lower high. But it looks like that daily lower high has already been set here at 51.34, and we would just want to make sure that is the case by checking out the hourly time frame. But before we do that, I just want to point out this looks like a big old EQ. Okay, on the weekly time frame, it looks like a big old EQ. Right. Okay, so we have this higher low, a lower high. Now we're looking for a weekly higher low with anything over 37.50 being one. So if we can get daily oversold, that'd be great. If we can get daily oversold into down here, that'd be great. And you can see the daily oversold is right here. So if price were to rush right down there, it would be right around daily oversold as we come down to test this come down and test this 37.50 level. Okay, so there's definitely a trade there as well for XPEV, especially if we can waterfall down. That'd be great. Ideally, we'll waterfall down into this level. And I got a question the other day about, okay, why do I have fills? Why do I scale in, after a break? And that's because I want to be part of the potential stop hunt. This is an obvious stop level. Okay, this low here is an obvious stop level that will get hunted. Like they literally sell your order flow. The brokers, they know where your stops are, and so if they see a bunch of stops somewhere and they know they have the capital to push price down there and trigger those stops, they'll do it. So yeah. Just that's why I do that. Okay, I like to include fills that are potentially a stop hunt. Okay, so that I can benefit from the stop hunt instead of being stopped out and then having the trade work for you. Right, it's probably the most frustrating thing that a trader encounters. Okay, so whomever that was who said that, crazy. I don't know. Whatever, doesn't matter. That's the answer. Okay, so daily oversold, looking for that weekly higher low would be ideal. At the bare minimum for a weekly higher low, I want to see 4-hour oversold. So you can see it would get oversold right around there. So I think that's fairly reasonable, just like that. Okay. Yep, that's pretty much it. And we'll just check the hourly trend as our guide. And these bear breaks are seeing minimal follow through. That's interesting. Okay, see this break got minimal follow through, and then this break got minimal follow through. So it's definitely something to note. The bears are not really pouring it on. And when you see these this H-like pattern, it's not really what you want to see when you're a bear. You don't want to see like a bear break into a big bounce. Like this is a bear break into a pretty massive bounce. This bounce took out the highs. Of course, it happened in after hours, but the idea is it's a little trickier if you're playing bearish when you have bear breaks into big bounces. Okay, and you know what? Now that I mention it, That's not really excuse me. I think that's something to be mindful of. I think that's something to be mindful of. This is a potential wedge. I know it's drawn without extended hours. I personally don't use it, as you may know. So, and I will say that this support line I find much more meaningful than the resistance line at this point, because you get a hit here, you get 3 hits there, right? They're wicks, they wick past it, but that's good enough, right? And then you get essentially you have 7 tags on this trend line. So I'm very confident in this trend line. If we were to come down here and test an hourly oversold, just like we did here, just like we did here, just like we did here, then I think that there's a play there as well. So because yes, this is like the lazy man's levels. You can just set these levels and forget it. If it hits, great. But if you want to be a bit more active, you can also be playing these hourly oversold bounces. Yeah. Okay, because we never know. We never know if it'll get down here. And then if this resistance line were to break bullish, let's say we get a bull break of this potential wedge, the back test of these levels will also be, in my opinion, a pretty good location for a potential higher low. Okay, so something like that. Okay, something around there. Okay. Okay, plug. Very tight. Getting very, very tight on the daily time frame. Very healthy consolidation. Definitely a good look for the bulls. I like that the gap is not filling, right? Just like Tupperware. I'll never forget. I mean, it happens all the time, but I'll never forget Tupperware. Did this twice in a row, right? Where they gap up and then bears are just unable to get anything into the gap. Same thing over here. They gap up and they just can't enter the gap. So it's definitely a good look for plug bulls. And we're just watching the tightening range, right? Whenever we're range bound, we care more about this range. And so it looks like the bulls may have changed the trend. Let's see. Yes, the bulls have set a higher low here into higher highs with very minimal follow through. So ideally, the bulls will see more follow through over this resistance of 64.72 to see some more daily bounce follow through, and have bears scouting a daily lower high under 75.49. So tomorrow, the key level for bulls to defend is 61.03. The key resistance to break will be 64.93. I don't know if I would love a short here. Like, I have this box up here because, if you get hourly overbought up there, we're range bound, okay? But I don't know. I just think there are easier sectors to short. Like, and if I don't love shorting off of like a consolidation pattern like this. Personally, I like it when price rips up to a prior resistance level, not in consolidation, but in like a very, in a very aggressive move. Okay, like this, right? This is a massive move up, and then of course, not of course, but we fade down. Okay, so that's what I'm interested in. I don't really care so much about the hourly trend right now. You can see how, like, these Bray breaks are getting very minimal follow through. This bull break got very minimal follow through. I don't care about that so much right now. Of course, the hourly trend would have to change to see daily bounce follow through out of this range, but for now, as long as we're range bound, I care about the range. Okay. ZAIR. Okay, so potentially losing this channel here. That is not a good look for bulls. So you can see this channel did a good job of containing this entire move. And while bulls continue to play defense off this level, they're having a hard time getting some lift above. And now we've had our first close be below the pivot for the month. So a couple of red flags shown for ZAIR. But that being said, that being said, if the bears are able to change the daily trend by setting a lower high under 87 cents and then breaking below 60 cents, it's just going to have bulls looking for a weekly higher low. There's really not been, I guess, you know what, technically you could already say we're looking for it because the prior candle's low has broken, but you can see it breaks without much follow through on occasion. So that's what we're looking out for. Oh, look at this R1. This R1, it came, very much came into play. Thank you, Mod Matt, for exposing this to me. Exposing me to this? That sounds like I like sexually assaulted it. No, I thank you for showing this. That still sounds bad. Thanks, Matt. There we go. Okay, so let's check this channel out in hourly. So the hourly time frame, I love this, right? If you get a nice back test of the channel and it rejects price, it's typically a good look that this channel is about to become invalidated. But that being said, the bulls are still playing defense. So this is kind of a wait and see situation for me. I don't know if I would get aggressive here. I think for me personally, I would love it if bears would really punch it, but to new lows. If they could punch it to new lows and get the 4-hour oversold into, yes, right, exactly, into this high here, right, where that prior highest close was. That's where I would like this trade. So if you're not in a trade, if you weren't in this trade, and if you are in this trade and you took profits, great. I don't know if I would look for lower now because of this choppy nature on the way down. So for me personally, I don't love that. I would prefer it down here, and hopefully you've taken profits on any of these fills because they give you opportunity to do so. I like it here. I like it down here. Dang it. And I think, oh no, there's no options for this. I was just gonna say because it's a lot of range, so it's you can't be really sized up. That's pretty much it. I just want to look 4-hour oversold is the bare minimum requirement. Looking for that weekly higher low. So let me see where that box would be. And it would be right here. It would be right above the pivot. It would be right where the 21 EMA is, which is also very roughly similar to, is roughly the same as the 20 simple moving average. So I like this level down here, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe they just pop back into the channel. I don't know. We never know what's going to happen. But as long as the Bulls play defense, they do have the opportunity to pop back into that channel. And if they do pop back into that channel, then I will be inclined to drag it out a little bit more and to include this new data. But I need them to prove it. I need them to punch back in, back test this support line or back test these highs, and then come and test that medium line. And then I'll be a lot more confident to extend this channel. Ooh, that was a long one. Jeez. I apologize. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks. Wait, what? No, that's not what I say. I think that about covers it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all soon.